What if I told you Goku didn't just surpass Zeno? He erased entire eras and absorbed their power. What if every destroyed timeline, every erased universe, every forgotten god became fuel for one final evolution? In this reality, Goku isn't a hero anymore. He's the absolute constant of the multiverse. A being so powerful that angels, goddesses, Saiyan queens, and warriors from every universe are drawn to him, not by force, but by destiny. This is the story where time has no reset, Zeno has no authority, and Goku stands alone at the top, as the absolute harem god ruling every reality. This is not Dragon Ball as you know it. This is What If Nexus. Chapter 1. The 0-Point Ascension and the Birth of the Sovereign. The void was no longer empty. It was screaming. The tournament of power had reached a conclusion that defied the laws of the divine. Jiren the Grey lay defeated, not by a single strike, but by the sheer conceptual collapse of the stage beneath him. As the twin Zenos, the Omni Kings, giggled in their high chairs, preparing to erase the losing universes with a casual flick of their wrists, the multiverse itself shuddered. The erasure of Tri-L Lions of Souls had created a karmic vacuum, a hole in reality that the Zenos' infantile minds couldn't comprehend. At the center of this cataclysm stood Son Goku. His GI was shredded, his chest heaving. But he was no longer in Ultra Instinct. He was in something beyond. The silver light had turned into a terrifying, opaque white that seemed to drink the light of the surrounding bleachers. Goku, something is wrong. Beerus screamed from the sidelines, his purple skin turning a pale gray. The Zenos, they're being pulled in. The two Omni Kings, the absolute authorities of existence, suddenly shrieked. The vacuum they had created was dragging them toward the center of the arena. The Grand Minister lunged forward, his face a mask of rare panic, but even his angelic power was stripped off. The moment he touched the event horizon of the collapse. Goku, you must take it. Whis' voice boomed, resonating through Goku's very DNA. The Zeno core is unstable. If it shatters, the concept of existence will be deleted. You are the only vessel strong enough to house the all-void. Goku looked up. He saw the twin Zenos, their forms blurring into raw, blue and purple data. He saw the faces of his friends, Krillin, Roshi, Gohan, fading into translucency. He saw the tragedy of a multiverse governed by children who played with lives like toys. I'm tired of things being erased, Goku said. His voice didn't travel through air. It vibrated through the fundamental strings of reality. It was deeper, colder, and filled with a sudden, terrifying maturity. The Saiyan who had spent his life eking a good fight, suddenly saw the futility of it all. He saw the women of the universes, the fierce Caulifla, the lonely Vados, the repressed Hellas, all destined to be dust because of a game. Goku lunged. He didn't use a Kamehameha. He simply opened his arms and embraced the collapsing Zenos. The explosion was silent. It was a 0-point event. For a moment, there was nothing. No stars, no time, no heaven or hell. Then, a single heartbeat thundered. Thump. In the center of the white nothingness, a figure materialized. He was taller, his muscles dense and etched like marble. His hair was a flowing mane of event horizon black, sparkling with the internal light of 1,000 galaxies. His eyes were no longer kind. They were the eyes of a god who had seen the beginning and end of every possible thought. Goku had absorbed the Zeno eras. He had become the absolute. Goku opened his eyes. He wasn't on the tournament stage. He was standing in a new realm, the Edelgard, a palace he had be consciously willed into existence at the center of the reorganized multiverse. Everything is quiet, Goku whispered. He looked at his hands. With a mere thought, he could see the life of a single ant on Universe 11's Earth. Or the birth of a star in Universe 2. He possessed the Omni-Will. My lord. Goku turned. Standing before him was Vados, the angel of Universe 6. She was trembling, a sensation entirely foreign to an angel. Her staff, the symbol of her neutral guidance, had shattered. The erasure of her universe and the subsequent reconstruction had severed her link to the Grand Minister. She was unbound. She looked at Goku and felt a soul-deep magnetic pull. He wasn't just a powerful mortal, he was the source of her very essence now. The Saiyan's new aura was intoxicating, a mix of primal heat and cold. Divine authority. Vados, Goku said. He walked toward her. His movements were so efficient they seemed to skip the space in between. He reached out and touched her cheek. The moment his skin touched hers, Vados gasped. A surge of absolute essence flooded her system. The programmed coldness of her angelic nature melted away, replaced by an obsessive, burning devotion. A thread of fate, a thick, iridescent cord of platinum light, snapped into place between them. The old laws are gone, Vados, Goku said, his voice a low, masculine rumble that made her knees weak. I-ha, they merged the 12 universes into a single empire. There will be no more erasure. But I need someone to manage the celestial bureaucracy while I refine the mortal realms. I am yours, Lord Goku, Vados whispered, her forehead touching the floor. I am no longer an observer. I am your first instrument. Goku smiled, a kingly, predatory expression. First, but far from the last. Goku turned his gaze toward the reconstructed Earth of Universe 7. He could see the tragedies he had allowed to happen in the past. He saw the scars on Android 18's soul, the trauma of being turned into a weapon by Jero. He saw the boredom and neglect in Bulma's eyes, a woman of genius tied to a husband who only cared for gravity rooms. He saw the hidden potential in Marin and the burgeoning power of the female Saiyans in the distant Universe 6. I'm going to fix it all, Goku declared. With a thought, he appeared in the center of Capsule Corp. Time seemed to freeze for everyone except the woman in front of him. Bulma was holding a tablet, her face lined with the stress of the tournament's aftermath. Goku didn't hide his power. The air in West City turned gold. Gee Goku, Bulma stammered, dropping her tablet. She looked at the man before her. He looked like her old friend, but the presence was overwhelming. He radiated a masculinity so potent it felt like a physical weight. Bulma, Goku said, stepping closer. You've spent your life building machines for others. It's time you had a king who builds a universe for you. He placed a hand on her shoulder. The yang energy of the Zeno core flowed into her, reversing her aging, sharpening her mind to a godlike level, and tethering her soul to his. Bulma's eyes glazed over for a second before snapping back with a fierce, possessive fire. She didn't just see a friend. She saw her absolute master. Goku. Anything, she breathed, her hand reaching for his chest. Whatever you want, it's yours. I want it all, Bulma, Goku replied. I'm bringin' the strongest and most beautiful women of every galaxy to this palace. We are going to birth a new race of gods. Behind him, the space rippled. Vados appeared, bowing. My lord, the Queen of Universe 2, Hellas, and the Saiyan girls of Universe 6 are awaiting your invitation. Shall I fetch them? Goku looked at the horizon, where the stars were now shining with a new, unified light. No, I'll go myself. I want to see the look in their eyes when they realize the world has a real god now. He vanished in a flash of white, leaving a trail of stardust that spelled the end of the old era. The Absolute Harem God had begun his harvest, and the multiverse would never know tragedy again. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. The Saiyan Queens and the Shattered Mirror. The atmospheric pressure on Planet S. Adala in the reconstructed Universe 6 didn't just change, it solidified. In the heart of the royal training grounds, Caulifla and Kale were mid-spar, their golden auras clashing with enough force to level mountains. But suddenly, their energy vanished, not because they ran out, but because the very air refused to sustain their transformation. What the? My muscles feel like jelly. Caulifla growled, dropping to her knees. Her breath hitching. Sis, look. Kale pointed toward the sky. The clouds hadn't parted. They had dissolved. A pillar of absolute white light struck the center of the arena. And from it stepped the figure of the Absolute. Goku stood there, his presence so massive that the nearby gravity distorted, pulling the very stones toward his feet. You're that guy from the tournament, Caulifla stammered, her fierce pride battling a primal urge to submit that she didn't understand. Goku, what did you do to your hair? And why does it feel like I'm looking at the sun? I've changed, Caulifla, Goku said, his voice a resonant chord that vibrated in their bones. The tournament was a playground. This is reality. I've merged the universes, and I've come for the elite of my race. He walked toward them, each footfall echoing like a heartbeat. Kale tried to power up, her green berserker aura flickering for a second before it was snuffed out by a casual glance from Goku. "Don't," Goku commanded. The word wasn't a suggestion, it was a cosmic law. Kale slumped, her eyes wide with a mix of terror and a sudden, inexplicable heat. Goku reached them, standing over the two Saiyan women. He looked at Caulifla, her raw, unrefined potential, and Kale, the vessel of a power she couldn't control. In the old timeline, they were just rivals. In this one, they were the foundations of his new Saiyan dynasty. "You want to reach the top?" Goku asked, reaching out his hands. "I am the top. I am the sky, the ground, and the air you breathe. Follow me, and I'll give you power." Hat makes the legendary Super Saiyan look like a firefly. He placed his hands on their foreheads. The Zeno core within him surged, pouring sovereign essence into their blood. Caulifla gasped as her mind was flooded with the realization of what Goku now was, the absolute king. Her obsession with becoming the strongest shifted, refocusing entirely onto the man before her. To be the strongest now meant to be his. Kale, meanwhile, felt the chaotic rage of her berserker form being tamed, smoothed out into a cold, refined lethality that was perfectly tethered to Goku's will. I belong to you," Caulifla whispered, her face flushing a deep crimson, her fierce eyes now shining with a fanatic devotion. Take us wherever you want." "In time," Goku said. He turned his head toward the temporal rift he had opened behind him. "But first, I have a ghost to rescue." Goku stepped through the rift into the future timeline, the world of Goku Black and Zamasu. In the original history, Zeno had erased this entire multiverse to stop the rot of the Zero Mortals plan. But Goku, possessing the Zeno eras, had reached back into the non-existence. He stood in the ruins of a devastated West City. The sky was a bruised purple, filled with the smoke of a dead civilization. In the rubble of a subway station, a lone woman sat clutching a shotgun, her eyes hollow with the loss of everything she knew. Future Mai. She looked up as the white light filled the dark tunnel. She saw Goku and instinctively raised her weapon. "Black, no. You feel different. I'm not the one who destroyed this world, Mai," Goku said. "Walking through the shadows, I'm the one who's bringing it back." With a wave of his hand, the erasure of the timeline was undone. Not by reverting time, but by overriding the rubble with the perfection of his new empire. The sky turned gold, the buildings restored themselves in a flash of white light, and the souls of the fallen were pulled back from the void, but filtered. Only those he deemed worthy returned. Mai dropped her gun, her body trembling as the absolute aura washed over her. She saw the man she had fought beside, but he was transformed into a deity of suck. Radiance that her mind struggled to cope. "Trunks, where is he?" she asked weakly. "In another timeline, living a peaceful life," Goku said, standing before her. He lifted her chin. "But you were the heart of the resistance. You have a spirit that even the gods couldn't break. I have a place for a woman like you in my palace." He pressed a kiss to her forehead, and the trauma of the decade-long war was erased, replaced by a soul-deep connection to the Absolute. Mai fell against his chest, her eyes closing in total surrender. "My lord," a voice called out. Vados appeared from the rift, trailing Caulifla and Kale behind her. The Saiyan girls looked at the restored city and then at Mai, their eyes narrowing with a new, competitive fire. "The harem grows, my lord," Vados said, her tone smooth and approving. "The Queen of Universe 2, Hellas, has sent word. She finds your new form exquisite. She begs for an audience." Goku looked at the women gathered around him, the angel, the Saiyan warriors, and the resistance leader. He felt the threads of their destinies weaving into a single, unbreakable cord. "Gather them all," Goku commanded. "We're going to the palace of the Absolute. I have a new world to show them. And a new era to begin." He vanished with a crack of thunder, leaving the restored city to bask in the light of its new, eternal sun. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3. The Goddess of Beauty and the Android's Hunger. The palace of the Absolute vibrated with a frequency that surpassed the celestial music of the spheres. Within its crystalline walls, the air was thick the scent of blooming lotuses and the ozone of raw, divine power. Goku sat upon a throne carved from the core of a collapsed star, his eyes closed as he felt the pulse of his expanding empire. "My lord," Vados murmured. Appearing at his side, her silver hair was now adorned with a diadem of Zeno glass, a mark of her status as the High Consort. The goddess of beauty, Hellas, has arrived from the reconstructed universe too. She has brought her finest attendants, but she insists on a private sanctum for her presentation. Goku opened his eyes. The nebula void within his pupils swirled. Let her in, Vados. I want to see if her beauty can withstand the gaze of the Absolute. The heavy doors of the throne room swung open. Hellas walked in, her golden ornaments clinking rhythmically. She was a woman who had spent eons demanding worship for her aesthetic perfection, but as she stepped into Goku's presence, her composure shattered. The beauty she championed felt like a flickering candle next to the roaring sun of Goku's aura. She fell to her knees before she was halfway to the throne, her breath hitching in a way that was entirely ungoddess-like. Lord Goku, Hellas stammered, her eyes wide, drinking in his transformed physique. The rumors of your ascension did not do you justice. You are the ultimate masterpiece. My universe, my heart. I offer them both to The only being truly worthy of the word perfection. Goku descended from the throne. He didn't walk. He glided, the space between them folding at his command. He stood over Hellas and placed a hand on her head. Beauty without power is a fragile lie, Hellas, Goku said, his voice echoing in her soul. I will give you a beauty that never fades, and a power that serves the Absolute. He funneled a concentrated stream of God core energy into her. Hellas arched her back, her skin glowing with an iridescent sheen as her divinity was overridden by Goku's essence. The thread of fate between them turned a rich, royal gold. She wasn't just a goddess anymore, she was a piece of his sovereign will. There is a disturbance in the lower laboratories of the Earth sector, Vados interrupted, her staff pulsing. The bio-android known as 21 has awakened prematurely. Her hunger is reaching critical levels. She is consuming the local energy signatures. Goku's expression sharpened. Android 21. The tragedy of a woman consumed by her own creation. Stay here with Hellas, Vados. I'll handle the hunger. In an instant, Goku appeared in the depths of a high-tech facility buried beneath a mountain range. The walls were melted, the machinery twisted. In the center of the wreckage stood a woman with voluminous brown hair and lab coat fragments, her skin shifting into a pale pink hue. Her eyes were a predatory red. So hungry, Android 21 hissed, her tail lashing behind her. She lunged at Goku, her claws extended, seeking to turn the Absolute into a confection of energy. Goku didn't move. He didn't raise a hand to strike. He simply expanded his aura. The sheer weight of his presence pinned 21 to the floor. She struggled, her hunger battling the overwhelming pressure of his divinity. You're not hungry for energy, 21, Goku said, walking toward her. You're hungry for a soul. You're hungry for someone who can satisfy the void Jero left inside you. He knelt beside her. 21 snarled, but as he reached out and touched her cheek, the snarl turned into a whimper. The Zeno essence didn't just suppress her hunger, it saturated it. He rewrote her genetic code, merging her Majin instincts with a new, divine loyalty. I can feel fullness, 21 gasped, her eyes shifting from red to a soft, devoted blue. The pink tint of her skin became a healthy, glowing rose. She looked at Goku, and the hunger was replaced by an all-consuming obsession. You are the only one who can fill me, she whispered, her hands clutching his royal robes. I am yours, every cell, every bit of data. I belong to the Absolute. Goku stood, lifting her effortlessly into his arms. The era of your suffering is over, 21. You will be the lead scientist of my empire, and my most insatiable queen. He vanished, returning to the palace. As he arrived, the hall was already filling with his gathered consorts, Bulma, Vados, Caulifla, Kale, Mai, Hellas, and now 21. They looked at one another with a mix of rivalry and shared devotion. All of them orbiting the man who was now the center of their universe. The foundation is set, Goku declared, his voice booming through the halls of Ethelgard. Now, we look toward the demon realm. Tao and the Dark Queens think they can hide from the light. They are mistaken. End of Chapter 3. Chapter 4. The Eclipse of the Demon Realm. The Demon Realm was a diamond. Scion of jagged shadows and crimson skies, a place where the laws of the gods were traditionally spat upon. But today, the darkness felt thin. Tawa, the brilliant and cold scientist of the demon world, stood in her spire. Her eyes fixed on the scrying orb. She saw the light, a blinding, white-hot presence, tearing through the dimensional barriers. "He is here," Tawa whispered, her grip tightening on her staff. Beside her stood Putin, the elite demon wizard, whose usual playful arrogance had been replaced by a cold, calculating fear. "The one who absorbed the kings of all?" Putin asked, her blue skin paling. "Tawa, we should have fled to the cracks between time when we had the chance." "There is nowhere to hide from a being that is time and space," Tawa replied. The sky above the demon capital didn't just break. It shattered like glass. Goku descended, his presence causing the very ground of the demon realm to purify, the dark sands turning to white marble beneath his feet. He didn't come with an army. He didn't need one. "Tawa, Putin." Goku's voice resonated through the towers, causing the demonic architecture to tremble. "You've spent eons trying to rewrite history. I am here to tell you that history has ended. The future belongs to me." Tawa lunged, her staff glowing with dark energy, attempting to trap Goku in a localized time loop. Putin cast a spell of frozen lightning, aiming to pierce the Absolute's heart. Goku didn't even blink. He raised a single finger, and the dark magic didn't just dissipate, it inverted. The shadows turned to light, wrapping around the two demonesses like glowing silk. They were pulled toward him, their bodies paralyzed by the sheer gravity of his will. "You have spent your lives seeking a king to restore the demon realm," Goku said, standing before them. He looked into Tawa's eyes, seeing the cold intellect that had caused so much tragedy. "I am not here to restore your realm. I am here to claim its queens." He placed a hand on each of their heads. The Zeno core within him unleashed a surge of primordial correction. The demonic malice in their blood was purged, not by destroying it, but by elevating it into a higher form of divine servitude. Tawa gasped as her mind was reordered. The obsession with her brother, Dabura, and the restoration of the Dark Throne vanished, replaced by a singular, overwhelming focus on Goku. She saw him not as a target, but as the ultimate conclusion of her research, the perfect being. Putin felt her magic swell to a level that threatened to shatter her physical form, only to be stabilized by Goku's touch. She looked up at him, her eyes shining with a frantic, soul-deep adoration. I was a fool to think anything else mattered," Tawa whispered, her head bowing. "My lord, my magic and my mind are your tools. And my spells, they are but songs for your glory," Putin added, her voice trembling with a newfound heat. Goku looked out over the now silent demon realm. With a thought, he terraformed the entire dimension, turning the jagged wasteland into a lush, dark paradise that would serve as the night wing of his empire. "Vados," Goku called out. The angel appeared, flanked by Android 21 and Caulifla. The Saiyan girl looked at the new demon consorts with a grin. "More for the collection, huh? These two look like they have some bite. They will serve their purpose," Goku said. He turned to Tawa. "Prepare the portals. We are going to the 11th universe. There is a certain angel there, Margarita, who has been watching us with interest. It's time to show her that the Grand Minister is no longer her master." As they vanished in a flash of white and violet, the demon realm, now a sanctuary of the Absolute, shimmered under a sun that would never set. End of Chapter 4. Chapt. R5. The Angel of Pride and the Justice Harvest. Universe 11 had always been the bastion of absolute justice, a realm where the laws were rigid and the defenders were unyielding. But as Goku descended upon the world of the Pride Troopers, the very concept of justice began to warp. The sky over the trooper headquarters turned a deep, royal indigo, and the gravity increased tenfold, forcing the mighty defenders to their knees. Margarita, the angel of Universe 11, stood atop the central spire. Her twin pigtails flickered in the divine wind as she watched the approach of the Absolute. Unlike Vados, who had been curious, Margarita was wary. She held her staff tightly, sensing the erasure of the Grand Minister's authority within the new king. "You have stepped beyond the mandate of the gods, Son Goku," Margarita said. Her voice sharp and melodic. "To absorb the Zenos is a crime against the natural order." The natural order was a child's game, Margarita, Goku replied, appearing inches from her face. He didn't use a portal. He simply existed where she was. I have unified the 12 universes. The Grand Minister is a relic. You are a tool without a hand to wield you. Let me give you a new purpose. Margarita lunged, her staff emitting a wave of neutralizing light that could erase a mortal's very soul. Goku didn't dodge. He caught the staff with his bare hand, and the light shattered like glass. He pulled her forward, his hand wrapping around her waist. You've spent eons watching over Belmod's arrogance, Goku whispered into her ear, his aura saturating her senses. Don't you and to serve a king who actually deserves your power. He channeled the Zeno core directly into her celestial heart. Margarita's eyes went wide, the pupils dilating until they were pools of shimmering silver. The programmed neutrality of the angels was a thin veil compared to the Absolute's will. She felt her independence being swallowed by a tidal wave of devotion. Her staff reformed, not as a tool of the minister, but as a scepter of Goku's empire. I see now, Margarita breathed, her body going limp in his arms before she knelt in the air. The minister was a shadow. You are the light. I am your angel, my lord. Goku turned his gaze to the ground below. Kokot, the female elite of the Pride Troopers, was watching from the plaza, her Kokot zone barrier flickering as she tried to comprehend the surrender of her angel. Kokot, Goku called out. The space around the female warrior collapsed, and she was pulled upward into the sky by an invisible force. She stood before Goku, her purple skin flushed with the terror of his presence. You value your barriers, Goku said. You think they can keep the world out. But I am the world. He touched her forehead, and the dimension. Warping power within her was magnified and tethered to his soul. Kokot's eyes glazed over, her fierce sense of justice shifting into a fierce sense of loyalty to the one who now defined the law. Pride Troopers will now be my sovereign wardens, Goku declared. And you, Kokot, will lead them. Vados and Margarita stood behind him, a pair of angels flanking their king. Behind them, the Shad, OWS of Tawa and Android 21 watched as the harem grew, the power of the Empire now spanning the most disciplined universe in existence. Where to next, my lord? Margarita asked, her voice now dripping with a sweet, fanatical honey. Goku looked toward the celestial heavens of the 10th universe. Kusu, the oldest and most knowledgeable of the angels. It's time to bring the wisdom of the past into my bedchamber. With a flash of indigo and white, the group vanished, leaving Universe 11 to begin its new life as a province of the Absolute. End of Chapter 5. Chapter 6. The Wisdom of the Ancient Bloom. Universe 10 was a realm of tradition and quiet contemplation, but the tranquility was shattered as a rift of gold and violet tore through the sky of the Kaioshin realm. Kusu, the oldest of all the angels, stood beside the stunned Gawasu. Despite her diminutive stature, her power was immense, her mind a library of every cycle of creation and destruction the multiverse had ever known. The resonance, it is impossible, Kusu whispered, her pigtails swaying as she felt the approach of a power that shouldn't exist. The Zeno twins are gone. There is only him. Goku materialized atop the sacred tree of the Kaioshin. He didn't sit, he hovered, the very leaves turning into crystalline gold at his proximity. Behind him stood his growing vanguard, Vados, Margarita, and the Saiyan queens. Kusu, Goku said, his voice carrying the weight of the eons he had absorbed. You are the eldest. You have seen the rise and fall of countless kings. You know that the current path of the multiverse was a dead end. Lord Goku, Kusu replied, bowing with a grace that felt like the shifting of tectonic plates. You have achieved what even the Grand Minister feared. You have merged the Creator and the Destroyer into a single vessel. But wisdom cannot be taken by force. I'm not here for force, Kusu. I'm here for completion, Goku said, appearing before her. He looked down at the tiny angel. I have the power to rewrite reality. But I need the ancient wisdom of the first dawn to ensure the Empire never falters. I want you to be the sage of my harem. He reached out his hand. Kusu hesitated for a fraction of a second, her mind calculating the trillions of variables. Then, she looked into Goku's eyes, the nebula voids, and saw not a tyrant, but a destination. She realized that her entire existence had been a prelude to this meeting. She placed her small hand in his. The surge of energy was unlike anything the other angels had felt. It was a time sync. Goku and Kusu's minds merged for a heartbeat, sharing the total history of the multiverse. Kusu's staff elongated, turning into a staff of infinite chronos. Her eyes shined with a brilliant, blinding white light as she was untethered from the old laws and anchored to the absolute. My king, Kusu whispered, her voice now resonating with the power of the first beginning. The archives of time are yours. I shall weave the threads of your destiny so that your reign never ends. Goku turned his attention to the warriors of Universe 10. Brienne de Chateau, Brienne, and her companions from the Maiden Squadron had been reconstructed in this sector. They stood in the distance, their power of love flickering in the shadow of Goku's absolute aura. You speak of love, Brienne, Goku said, his voice reaching her across the plains. But your love was a transformation. A mask. I will show you the love of a god that requires no masks. He snapped his fingers. A wave of pure Aphrodite energy washed over the Maiden Squadron. Their bloated transformations dissolved, leaving them in their true, mortal forms, but elevated. Brienne looked at her hands, then at Goku. The love she had preached for so long was suddenly localized, magnetized, to the man on the hill. She didn't transform into a giant, she blossomed. Her beauty became sharp, divine, and fiercely devoted. She and her sisters fell to their knees, their hearts beating in a perfect, synchronized rhythm with Goku's own. We see it now, Brienne cried out, her eyes streaming with tears of joy. You are the source. You are the love we were searching for. Goku stood at the center of his gathering queens. To his left, the wisdom of Kusu, to his right, the elegance of Vados and the pride of Margarita. Behind him, the fire of the Saiyans and the science of the androids. The heavens are almost silent, Goku said, looking toward the final horizon. Only the second and fourth universes remain. And then, we go to the palace of the Grand Minister to claim the final prize. And who is that, my lord? Kusu asked, a knowing smile on her face. Martinu, Goku replied, the angel who thinks she can remain neutral in a world that belongs to me. End of Chapter 6. Chapter 7. The Twilight of the Old Order. The multiversal reorganization was nearly complete. The threads of fate that Goku had woven now stretched across the stars, pulling the scattered remnants of the divine hierarchy into his singular golden orbit. But as he stood on the balcony of Ethelgard, Kusu at his side, he felt a cold, stagnant pocket of resistance. Universe 12, Kusu whispered, her STAFF of Chronos pulsing with a faint blue light. The universe of the ultimate technological advancement. Their angel, Martinu, has synchronized her mind with the great computer. She has turned her entire sector into a logical fortress. She believes that by quantifying your power, she can negate it. Goku let out a low, melodic chuckle. Logic is just a fence built by those who are afraid of the infinite. Let's go tear it down. Universe 12 didn't look like a realm of gods, it looked like a city of silver that spanned light years. When Goku arrived, he wasn't met with a greeting. He was met with a conceptual nullifier, a beam of anti-energy designed to strip a being of its divinity. The beam hit Goku full in the chest. The Silver City held its breath. Goku didn't even slow down. He walked rough the beam as if it were a light mist. With every step, the silver towers around him began to melt, turning into liquid gold that flowed toward his feet. Martinu appeared in the center of the great plaza. She was the most stoic of the angels, her hair pulled back in a severe, efficient bun. She held her staff like a scalpel. Son Goku, you are an anomaly, Martinu stated, her voice devoid of emotion. Based on my calculations, your existence is a statistical impossibility. I have prepared a sequence to restabilize your atoms. Your calculations are based on a world that ended when I absorbed the Zenos, Martinu, Goku said. He didn't use speed, he simply erased the distance between them. He stood so close that Martinu's logic circuits began to smoke from the sheer heat of his aura. He reached out and took her staff. Instead of breaking it, he ran his hand down the length of it, turning the cold metal into warm, living wood. You've been a calculator for far too long, Goku whispered, his hand moving to the nape of her neck. It's time you felt something that can't be measured. He surged his absolute essence into her. Martinu's eyes, usually as flat as a screen, suddenly flooded with color. The great computer, she was linked to let out a final, agonizing static scream before it exploded. Martinu gasped, her knees buckling as her cold, analytical mind was shattered and replaced by a fierce, biological, and spiritual hunger for the man before her. I can't compute, she sobbed, her hands clutching his robes. The logic, it's gone. There is only you. That's the only logic you'll ever need, Goku said. With Martinu claimed, the final barrier fell. But as Goku prepared to return to his palace, a gargantuan presence manifested in the void between universes. The Grand Minister. He looked diminished, his blue skin pale, his eyes lacking their usual sparkle. Behind him stood the remaining gods of destruction, Beerus, Champa, and Belmod, their faces twisted in a mixture of fear and desperation. Son Goku, the Grand Minister spoke, his voice thin. You have committed the ultimate sacrilege. You have stolen the heart of the multiverse. I have come to reclaim the angels. The angels aren't yours to reclaim, Minister, Goku said, his wives and consorts appearing behind him in a display of overwhelming beauty and power. Vados, Margarita, Kusu, Martinu, Caulifla, 21. And the others stood as a united front. They are the pillars of a new world. Your world was a graveyard of erased timelines. Then you leave me no choice, the minister said, raising his hand to cast the Omega Protocol. Beerus and Champa lunged, their Hawkeye energy flaring. But Goku didn't even enter a fighting stance. He simply spoke a single word. Kneel. The power of the Zeno eras slammed into the gods of destruction. Beerus and Champa hit the ground with enough force to crack reality. They couldn't move. Their Hawkeye was instantly absorbed into Goku's feet. Goku looked at the Grand Minister. You were a good steward, but your time is over. I am the king, I am the law, and I am the father of the next generation. Goku reached out, and the minister's staff flew into his hand. He didn't kill the minister. He simply stripped him of his rank, turning the greatest being in the multiverse into a mere mortal scholar. Go to the Earth sector, Goku commanded. Teach the children about the old world, so they know why the new one is better. The minister bowed his head, his spirit broken, and vanished. Goku turned to his harem. The universe was finally silent. No more threats, no more erasures, only the infinite potential of his reign. My lord, Vados said, stepping forward and taking his hand. The palace is ready. The thrones are set. What is your first decree as the Absolute? Goku looked at the beautiful, powerful women who had chosen him, or been chosen by him. He looked at the golden future he had carved out of the void. My first decree, Goku smiled, and for the first time in eons, the warmth of the old Goku peeked through the majesty of the Absolute. Let's go home. We have a lot of lost time to make up for. The Absolute Harem God vanished with his queens. And for the first time in history, the multiverse was truly, perfectly whole. End of Chapter 7. Chapter 8. The Divine Lineage. The era of conflict had been replaced by the era of creation. Thousands of years had passed in the blink of a cosmic eye for the Absolute. The High Palace of Edelgard was no longer just a throne room, it had become the nursery of a new species. The Ion of the Zeno sovereign and the most powerful women of the 12 universes had birthed a generation of children whose power levels made the old Super Saiyan forms look like flickering embers. Goku sat upon a wide terrace of white jade. His event horizon, hair flowing in a breeze he had specifically programmed to carry the scent of Earth's mountain air. Around him, the laughter of children echoed, children with tails of silver, eyes of nebula violet, and the innate ability to manipulate reality before they could walk. Careful, Gohan Jr., Bulma called out from a nearby lounge. She looked as young as the day she had first met Goku, her beauty preserved by the divine nectar of the Empire. She watched as her son, a boy with Goku's wild hair and her own sharp blue eyes, accidentally ported a small mountain into the palace fountains. He's got your spirit, Goku, Bulma laughed, leaning her head against Goku's shoulder. And fortunately, my brains. Vados and Margarita approached, each holding a daughter. The girls were half angels, possessing the light skin and white hair of their mothers but the fierce, golden eyes of their father. These children were the arbiters, destined to maintain the balance of the sectors their mothers once governed. The eldest, Serafina has already mastered the destruction creation loop, Vados reported, her pride evident. She is ready to oversee the sixth sector, my lord. Let her, Goku said, his voice a warm resonance. But remind her that power is a gift to the people, not a toy for the ego. The threads of fate that had once been thin lines were now massive cables of light, connecting Goku to dozens of wives and hundreds of children. This was the Absolute family, a hierarchy built not on fear, but on a genetic and spiritual obsession with the king. Kusu, the sage of the harem, walked onto the terrace, holding a scroll of infinite length. The 10th generation of Saiyan demon hybrids from Tawa and 21 are showing remarkable stability, my king. Their hunger is tempered by the Zeno light. They are the perfect guardians for the outer rifts. Goku looked out over his infinite kingdom. He saw the new Saiyans, training under Caulifla and Kale. Their screams of battle now hymns of loyalty. He saw the android sages under 21's tutelage, solving the mysteries of the multiverse. He saw the demon paladins under Tawa, keeping the shadows in check. You've done it, hasn't he? A voice whispered. Goku turned to see the spirit of the old Zenos, now just two small, glowing orbs of consciousness resting in a glass jar by his throne. They weren't erased. They were at peace, watching the man who had done a better job than they ever could. I didn't just save the world, Goku said, standing up and opening his arms to the horizon. I made it a home. With a thought, Goku summoned a feast, not just for himself, but for every living soul in his empire. Mountains of food appeared on every planet, and for one day, the entire multiverse celebrated the birthday of the Absolute. Goku stood at the center of his queens, Vados, Bulma, 18, 21, Caulifla, Kale, Hellas, Margarita, Kusu, Mardinu, Tawa, and Mai. He was the father of the future, the harem god of the all-void. And the Saiyan who had finally found the ultimate fight, the fight to keep his family happy for eternity. The sun of Ethelgard set, but the light of the Absolute would never fade. The end. And that's where this chapter ends, but the story doesn't. In a multiverse where time can't be reset, where gods have no throne left to sit on, and where even destiny bends its knee, Goku doesn't chase power anymore. Power follows him. Every choice from here will reshape reality itself. Every bond will echo across timelines. And every war will decide whether the multiverse survives or kneels. If you want to see how far this god can go, if you want the next chapter where the rules completely break, subscribe to What If Nexus. Because this isn't just a what if anymore. This is the new canon.